Yeah. Seriously, this is hard, but hey, somebody serves you at Slomers.
Somebody what?
Wednesday, somebody serves you papers.
Yeah.
Greg's like, you just licensed my. All right, sorry.
Yeah, the Porchview Winery stuff here. That's the good stuff.
Yeah.
We got to cut that out. We can leave that out, right? That's
No,
product
I
placement.
think it's fine. Yeah,
Look at
I'll
that.
have to ask my guy, but
Yeah.
I don't have a guy.
You don't have a guy?
I'm gonna throw in a
It makes
fresh.
me
I'm gonna have
sound
to
more
blo-
legit though if you have a guy.
Yeah.
I'll have to talk to my people and see if it's okay.
You want me to like blur this out?
Anybody need a fresh on?
No, I'm good.
All right.
I'm good on that. I'll be up till 3 a.m. if I take that.
I
stuff.
definitely
Right now, I've got 3 of them in 24 milligrams. I'm just kidding.
I definitely lost my Zins when I was shooting hoops though. I think they flew out on my pod.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Shooting hoops in the living room for the podcast. So, well, welcome, fellas. Been a minute. I haven't seen you since you opened up your place, right?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago. But you know what?
Bring that microphone a little bit closer so I can hear you.
We're all texting all the time though.
There you go.
know,
Yeah,
so
that's true.
we stay in
Turn it
touch
up.
even if it's not recorded.
Yeah. So we'll just jump right into hunting shit, right? So full swing.
Yeah,
Right, month left.
We're ready to be surprised because we didn't want to know the topic before we came.
Well, you knew it was going to be some hunting.
Figured
there.
it was
Right.
something.
We're
going to
talk babies too. I
Yeah,
mean, he's
we
got a little
can.
guy, 4 months now.
Yeah,
We're going
it's
to get
gonna
into
make
that.
Make it tough to get in the tree, but we'll,
Yeah.
we'll
So,
get there.
all right. So just so folks know, we'll get into a little bit here. From the beginning of our podcast, we've made it clear that, we are not experts. We don't give advice. I'm frankly not very good at hunting. I can hunt, but I can't hunt. You know what I mean? I'll admit that. I'm like most guys, right? I can hunt. I can go sit in a tree. I know what a trail looks like. I mean, a little more than that, but you know what I'm getting at. These two guys sitting next to me, Ben and Craig. That's Ben. That's Craig. Craig's been on here before. He shot Biggie last year. If you hadn't seen that podcast, I'd suggest going back and looking at it. It's a good one. But these guys, I'm lucky to know them for a lot of reasons. Probably the least of which is they're hunting because they're just good dudes, right? Great people to have in your lives. But when these guys and a couple other guys in my life, when they find a deer and they find them every year, that deer's probably going to die. And, by the end of, you guys probably have some tied to a tree right now, right? I mean, you got a good idea of what you're going after this year?
We're hunting a big one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's just start there. Because like I said, I'm no expert, but we're all here to learn, right? And we can all learn stuff every year. I'm sure you guys are still learning stuff. So I'd like to start with, we'll have a little chat about process, like just generally how your summers look, how you attack, where you put cameras. For example, like if you go to a new space, like I know last year you were saying like corners of fields, you just mentioned that in our last podcast, right? Like you had cameras on corners of fields for summer just to do your inventory kind of stuff. Like, I know to you guys it's just natural because you've been doing it for how long, right? But you got young kids out there listening. Right. We got guys who have never hunted before. They're just starting to hunt when they're 30, 40 years old. Just giving a little guidance on how they can head into the season with a little more confidence. And then after that, we'll get into the more fun stuff, like your favorite hunting memories when you were kids, like first time you went out, who got you into hunting and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, let's start with that. When do you guys start looking for your buck that you're going to hunt?
Man, I think it starts the day that it ends. You know what I mean? The day the season's over, we start.
We're rolling over last year's data into this year.
Yeah.
So we know of deer last year that we had seen, maybe didn't pay as much attention to or had on trail camera, and have enough plug into the hunting community around us to where we see pictures of harvest and it's like,
he's not in them.
I don't think that
Right.
deer got killed. So data from last year rolls in to the new year. So that's nice to have. And you have that when you're hunting your home state. Now, when we have leases in Ohio and we do Illinois trips in Iowa, now we can't do that there.
Right.
But here in PA, we're rolling data from last year into this season, and exactly like Ben said, it starts as soon as the season ends. Like, we're already.
Yeah, you're trying to start figuring out if that deer got killed or if it didn't get killed, and and I mean, just through friends, like you said, it's small communities, so just word of mouth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then you kind of start thinking, well, this one could still be on our radar. Oh, this one might have got killed, depending on where it was. If it was close to public or a private piece that we hunt, and you just start breaking it down from there, pretty much, and just keep it rolling. Really, I mean,
So when do you guys start hitting real hard? Like, I'm assuming you do inventory cameras,
oh
like
yeah,
midsummer, or when do you really start rolling those out? Do you
July.
start-
yeah, July.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, getting pretty thick into it in July.
Yeah, I know
I
you
mean,
love
even
the cell
June.
cams.
Yeah, I mean, if you see a good one in
Yeah.
June somewhere that you're
Well-
able to hunt or something, I mean, I've had cameras out in June as early,
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny you say that. Cell cameras are one of the best things that we have in our tool bag, but we kind of start with SIM card cameras
Yeah.
in July because, number one, we're not paying subscriptions and stuff for cell cameras when
Right.
we're not on one yet.
Yeah.
Right.
And we kind of enjoy getting out of the house at this point,
Okay.
with kids and stuff. So we'll Ben and I will get together maybe twice a week or once every 10 days or whatever it is. And we'll go pull SIM cards. We'll pack a laptop and a backpack
Yeah.
and we'll go pull a SIM card. And once we're on one, it's like, okay, we got to get a celly here.
Right.
So I have 6 in my fleet. I have 6 cell cameras, Moultries in my fleet. And if I start getting 2 out in July, 3 or 4 out in August, then we're on one. And then it's like, I'm going to have all 6 out by the time the season starts. But we do start with SIM card trail cameras in July.
And I mean, we hunt the same deer. I mean, we always have since we've been kids, you know what I mean, hunting together. So it's nice because, I mean, we share pretty much everything as far as hunting wise, you know what I mean? So between us both, I mean, we probably have 30 some cameras, you know what I mean? So that really helps when you got a good buddy that you can do all your inventory and stuff with. And like you said, I mean, we're no experts on this stuff. I mean, we just hunt a lot, but I think
the bone you guys have been putting on the ground pretty much speaks for
from my
the
experience.
success
Like,
is what it is, though, right?
You're better. I mean, we're better off running a bunch of non-cellular cameras, finding the deer, and then honestly, I mean, like every deer is different. I don't want to say that they have personalities, but they have different characteristics. You know what I mean?
Well, we talked about that last time.
So,
like,
I mean,
we got roamers and we got homebodies, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, and right now, I mean, right as we speak, there's a big shift going on. I mean, they're losing velvet. They're getting their winter coats, and it's still hot out.
It's
August. You're growing a winter
31st
coat
right now, by the way.
You get a deer on camera, and I mean, he's getting his winter coat, and it's 90 degrees out. Like, that deer might not move as much. He might have been moving 400 yards right now. He might only be moving 200 yards, and he might not be getting them on camera. And you have been, but
so if you go out and your first set is basically inventory, where do you, what kind of features, field features, terrain features, if it's different like kinds of stands, like an oak stand, et cetera, like what are you looking for as far as where you looking for water sources if they're limited? Like when it's summer, how do you determine where you're gonna? I know you want to put a bunch out, right? You want as much coverage as you can, but how do you strategically place them out there when somebody goes?
We're gonna say this at the same time, but it's beans.
Beans.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a tough question because it just depends on where the biggest deer is. I mean, because I'm gonna hunt them wherever I can, and it might be crazy terrain, or it might be like fairly residential.
But that's the question, though. Like,
but,
how do you, that's when you know where the biggest deer is. But when you're doing that inventory right up front,
right?
Like I know last year you mentioned, at least when you were going after Biggie, the first time you guys went out and were pulling cards, you had them on 2 corners of fields, right?
Well, we went to a big apple tree.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
that was loaded.
That was the greater area that deer was in. I'm talking a mile in any direction. Yeah. You didn't have grain or agricultural. So it's like those apples. And we had a hot tip from another buddy that was like, man, these deer are all over apples right now. So it was obvious to see.
It was beat underneath all those apple trees. I mean, it's like the candy store was open. You know what I mean?
Right.
Truthfully.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, every single deer that was in that piece was on those apple trees.
So really, like, we grew up hunting bean fields
Right.
when we were living next door to each other when we were 12, 13.
Right.
So we kind of grew up on beans, and that was a good way to kind of cut our teeth because a bean field at this time of the year is a huge magnet. So
Right.
running an inventory camera on a bean field, like you can't go wrong with that.
Right.
Interestingly enough, this summer, like we were driving down the road one night and looked over and seen a big deer in a field, and it was like, can we hunt this? Yeah. And the next night we had a camera in there, and we ran a cell camera for 10 days. Pretty much we're comfortable that we had every deer in the area on camera. And that big deer we thought we saw wasn't what we thought it was, and we pulled the camera and went to another spot. So it's like we're moving cameras around all over the place wherever we have permission, trying to find the biggest deer and not getting married to that spot.
Right.
And I think I said that last time, is that's what Ben and I have really, really gotten good at over the years, is
trusting the data.
Don't get married to the spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be willing to go in, within 30 minutes of your place or whatever, anywhere you can hunt to find your big deer. And once we find them, driving the roads, glass and binoculars, last hour of light. When we see a big deer, we'll get a camera in there and then start working.
Well, I mean, you guys glassed on the way over here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
I was stuck at a wedding, and you guys are out glassing buck. I was like,
I think.
Yeah.
No, I had a good time at the wedding, by the way. If you're listening, it was a great wedding, and food was great. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, it's tough for us because, like, I mean, there's so much stuff on TV, and you watch these hunting shows and stuff. But, I mean, we have good properties to hunt, and then we have properties that, I mean, I'm not going to say anything's overly private or sophisticated that we hunt. But, I think when we were younger, I used to always just, like, I think I envisioned something that I seen off of TV. Like, we'd see, like, a little meadow, and we're like, oh, he's got to come through here. Like, personally, myself, I'm like, it was just this like nostalgic feature that I'm like, oh, this is it. So we'd go in there and we'd hang a stand, and it looks right. But I guess I found out like it ain't always right. You know what I mean? You gotta.
We had this conversation last time, like of we as hunters can come into a space and be like, man, look at this edge, look at this, look at that. But if there's no trail hitting that edge, if there's no scrape line, if there's no historical evidence of rub lines from last year, the year before, they're not necessarily going to be using that. You can hang there all morning, you're going to see beautiful sunsets and sunrises, but and I follow that here. I don't know if we talked about this last time, but here at the farm
we did. It's like those spots where
we back there.
We want those deer to be there just because it looks good.
He's hitting it on.
I would go way back into the farm, right in the meat of the farm. And what I found was there's all kinds of sign back there, but so right here where my house is, there's like this little corner where the roads come together, and this is all thick as hell right here, right? Everybody ignores it because it's right by these roads. We're in the middle of nowhere, right? We're in farm country, but we got this little corner of brush. It's tucked in by these roads, and there's a couple houses right here, and I can walk a mile back into all that, and I'll see a ton of does. But where those buck are spending their days is up in here. And if I'm better off to walk 30 yards behind my house and hang one right here and catch them sneaking in here in the morning or sneaking out to go visit those does, they're all down there. Because that's the other thing I wanted to ask you guys. It seems to me that until rut hits, those bucks don't necessarily want to hang out where there's all kinds of other deer. Like the more I've seen, like if I see 20, 30 does, I tend to see like 2.5-year-olds, maybe a 3.5-year-old every now and again. But the big boys always seem to be like reclusive. Like they found a spot like this corner right here by my house where there's like no other deer hanging out. They're just kind of chilling in there by themselves. Like they don't have much activity around them. If they see something moving, they know it's probably something they need to be concerned about. Because this farm we're on right now, they haven't killed a doe on this farm in 40 years. They got that old school, well, I don't know what school mentality other than I know it's wrong.
It's not good.
It's not good. Right. The only thing that's good is that I literally have video and pictures of does laying in scrapes. They'll bed in a scrape like, please breed me. Like they're just sitting there like, come on. There's no chasing going on. It's like the bucks come down and the does are standing there like, let's go.
We were just talking about this. Those big bucks don't want to be around the does.
I think that it just puts them on edge, especially right now. Like, I don't think they want to lay around 20 other deer. I think they just kind of want to look out for themselves, like truthfully. And I think that's, I mean, how they get sometimes as big as they do.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times those bigger deer, it doesn't seem like they're around too many deer.
Perfect story. 3 or 4 years ago now, I went out and hunted Sunfish Valley whitetails out in Ohio, and Ben and I had hunted it in the rut, and then they offered this thing where if you didn't kill one, you could come back in the late season for free or for like a minimal cost. Well, he couldn't go, but our buddy Jake Wagner was down, so I texted the guides out there, and we went on this hunt, and we were hunting big bait piles, and they had this massive 8-point, like 145, 150-inch 8-point, super wide, and they had these 2 bait piles established on. One was on one side of a gravel farm lane, and the other bait pile was on the other side. So you had a bait pile on each side of this lane. And it, like 3 days into the hunt, the guide would show us pictures every morning from the trail camera. And it was literally, if the does were on this bait pile, the buck was on the other side of the road.
Yeah.
And if they were on that one, he was and that buck did not want to be around that group of does.
Yeah.
And he would just move.
Yeah.
So,
and it's usually mid to late October before they start changing that and being like, no, I'm a little more comfortable. And even then, that's only when they're chasing, right?
I think your big mature bucks, they want to be in a bachelor group with other, similar age deer.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see your loner deer, you see your random goofy 1.5-year-old that's like with a group of does out there. But I think your bachelor groups of bucks, they don't really want to be around other deer that aren't it's similar aged or we've been seeing it all summer. The bigger deer that we're watching, they're in their own section of the field. They're in their own pictures, on camera. So
when you guys found one, you got one, we won't give anything away. Obviously we know how that works, but so even when let's talk about Biggie from last year, right? So you found him on that camera that was in the corner, and you had him within like an inch when you first said, the measurements of him, right?
Which, we knew right away.
Yeah. So, all right, now you've identified one. He's somewhere in that area. Well, he's at least walked by that camera once, right?
Yep.
What's your strategy for how do you radiate out? How do you start getting that? I know these are going to sound like simplistic questions, right? Yeah. But this is stuff. Some people want to hear this, right? Because they're just starting out. There's kids out there. What we don't want to be talking about here is like, I think there's been we've talked about this a lot on the podcast, but there's been so many things like on YouTube, whatever, that are all just about the kill shot. And these people who are just getting new to hunting, they're like, okay, put in a food plot, sit over it and shoot a 5.5-year-old buck. And I'm like, dude, if you're sitting over a food plot, your chances of shooting a 5.5-year-old buck are almost zero, in my opinion. You want to hunt the approach trails and things like that. If you even do that, or whatever food source you're hunting over, don't hunt over it. Yep. In my opinion, get back, right? So you can live the hunt another day if he's 85, 100 yards out. But anyway, we can go on and on about that. But so now you've got one identified like Biggie, or what's your general process now? Like when you found your one this year, what do you do with your cameras around that to try to figure out his path, where he's bedding, things like that? Is it just you hammer it with like 10 cameras around it, or are you looking for certain terrain features? Like what are you looking for?
Pretty much the multiple cameras in the beginning, just like Biggie last year. Like we went, he came out in a corner of a horseshoe shaped field, and we went cameras on one side, cameras on the other side. It only took a week to know that he wasn't going the one way, the other way. So, we tracked them throughout the next couple of weeks that way. Right. But this year, kind of same thing, is we found this big buck driving around glassing, and the next day I went in there with a camera, and he hit that camera that night. And a couple of days later, he went to the other side of the road, threw a camera up. He showed up on that camera. So now we know that this deer, will use each side of this road.
Right.
So now we're starting
it is just a road, but obviously, we've been glassing him, so he comes out in different spots in the evening. So obviously he's bedding in different spots, you know what I mean? So I've been just trying to correlate why he comes out on that side, why he comes out on this side, wind directions, weather.
I was going to say, like when you say data, you track it?
Now, this deer is on a bean field, so it makes it easy because we can drive out there at 7:30 and watch him with binoculars. we have multiple cameras on each side of the road.
Yeah.
So when he's getting pictures of them at night, he's sending me pictures the next morning, and I'm doing the same. So we know, hey, last night we're calling them Stacks. Stacks was on my side of the road, and we'll look at why. So we're looking at what was the wind direction that day. Did something happen with temperature? What could it be? And we still haven't figured them out at this point. It's August 31st right now.
Right.
And we have another month to put the pieces together. So we're still actively
Plus he's probably shifting right now. He may be shifting.
So what we're doing is when he's on my side of the road, we're looking at wind direction. Why could that be? Looking at satellite imagery without going in there.
Yeah.
Because, we blew Biggie out last year, and we kind of are going to keep last year's lessons and roll them over into this year.
Right.
So we're looking at topo features and satellite for that wind when he's on my side of the road. Why did he bed where he did? And then was there a big wind change when he showed up on Ben's camera on his side of the road?
Right.
So we are actively still in the process of putting that together, but that's what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, is he your only focus pretty much right now? Or you got a backup or not real backups right now?
Man, it's a 175-inch deer.
It's hard to. It's hard to find big deer in this state. It really is. They're not everywhere. So
we have cameras in other areas. We just did a big trail camera loop 2 days ago. We went out to some great game lands, ran cameras.
Yeah.
He had a hit on a potential big deer. We went out and got as close to where we thought maybe this deer was and ran some cameras. So I don't want to say Stacks is our only focus.
Right.
But if we only have so much time, which we do, we both have kids and jobs and whatever.
Yeah.
We're going to put 65-70% of effort towards Stacks and then 30 to the other side. And we'll see how it shakes out because that switch is coming. I already have deer in the same area that Stacks is in that had lost their velvet 2 weeks ago, man. I think we're going to have an early fall.
Yeah.
But if he moves and disappears on us September 14th and we don't have him on camera all the way up until October 1st, because I think the season opens October 5th this year.
Yeah.
Then we're going to have to figure out something quick. So it's we're kind of putting our eggs in one basket, but at the same time, we know enough to know that the chances he leaves is great.
So you mentioned a couple times. You mentioned knocking on doors, getting permission. That's something that I think that's something I'm sure you started when you guys were young, like just walking up, knocking on the door, saying, "Hey, what kind of?" I think a lot of guys are like hesitant to do that for one reason or another. But you're seeing good success with that, even around here. Is it? What would you say? A 10% hit rate? 50%? Where are we at?
I bet you're at 50% if you go up and ask somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For the most part, it's just networking, like through your work or anything like that. You just get to know people and meet them and start talking to people, and it opens doors, but you're not always going to get yeses.
Yeah, that's that. What he's saying is like if you've ever tried to raise money for a business or something, having a warm introduction, your chances. So like knowing a dude that you work with that's not a hunter, but his wife's family member or whatever owns a big piece of property, your chances of getting permission on that are greater because it's a warm introduction. Like somebody that's kind of like introducing you, and the cold knocking stuff hasn't gone really great, but we absolutely have gotten permission on properties doing that. Yeah. But it's not a super high percentage success rate.
I'm not trying to go on a rant, but this is a hard state to hunt. Like you don't see guys coming from Iowa or Illinois that come hunt Pennsylvania.
Hell no.
You don't see them doing it. And I'm not saying there's big deer, but they're not everywhere. So if you do get a big deer on camera, like what you were saying for kids and other people, like if you get a 130-inch deer on camera, by all means, hunt them. That's a big deer.
Right.
That's a good deer. Like, go after him or whatever, floats your boat. Honestly. So, but this is a hard state to hunt. That's my honest opinion.
Brock's tried even going and offering to work. Hey, I'll come and give you days of hay. Those hay days when no one wants to be on, and I'll do that. But even with that, they're kind of like but even around here, especially around here, I think like you got game lands, and we can hunt those. But like you said, if you want to hunt a bean field, that's owned by
Yeah.
somebody.
It's
And
good.
the land around it's owned by somebody. It's just tough because, especially like, well, we have a good example. The corn across the road last year was being.
Yeah.
And there was a buck coming out here. I think you guys might have seen the picture we had of him last year. Most deceptive deer I've ever had. I'll show you guys after this. But dude, when he was standing there, cars were stopping on the road out here, like 5, 6 cars just taking pictures of him. I'm like, God, everybody, he's gonna get poached. I'm like, he's not even gonna make it because he's standing there 100 yards from the road, middle of nowhere. I'm like, you're dead. Well, I get permission to hunt this little 3-acre piece right off the corner of that field. And I'm like, all right, we're good. I got a fence row or a tree row coming right down in through the middle, comes right to where we're at. It's literally the only spot of woods that he can come through. I'm like, we're good. I get a picture of this thing. I mean, I've got so many pictures of this thing in velvet, and I know velvet's tricky, right? But I'm telling you, I'm going to show you guys this picture later, and this buck is insanely big. We're looking at this thing going like, man, he's like 155, like 160. I got a picture of him off the cell cam right across the road here. And I'm looking at this buck. I'm like, oh, that's a decent buck. I wonder what that one is. And I start looking closer. I'm like, that's that same buck. I bet you wasn't a buck 25.
Yeah.
Like it was the strangest.
Dumped his mass.
Unbelievably dumped it. Like I still can't even get my head around it. Now the good news is he was young. He was like 2.5, and he's got a lot of character. He's got a lot of height. He's got everything you want, actually.
Yeah, but around here, guys aren't looking at the chest size when they squeeze the trigger.
No,
they're just looking at the
But
rack.
as far as we know, to your point, small community and stuff, he's still there.
Yep.
Now this year we're corn, and you're not going to see him because it's literally corn from the road to like 2 valleys over. Like he's just living in that. And there's not a bean field around here this year. The same family farms all this. Yep. So they're running all corn this year. Next year it'll be all beans. And as an aside, that's what's killing me up at camp is that they were rotating beans and corn. Well, last year they put in wheat, and then this year they put in oat, and they're just basically taking 2 years off. And I'm like,
the difference is like this, man, from your bean year to your corn year.
Yeah,
for sure.
And now they don't have either one of those on last year or this year. And I'm like, can we please get something on? Like that's going to pull them in, you know, because everything's been cut up there already. It's just weeds now. And I'm like,
yeah, it makes it tough,
you know. And I didn't get up there and put a plot in, which is a problem. I needed to put something in just to pull them because the deer are still there. I know they'll move, but like out on the point we've been talking about, you guys have been helping me, you know, hey, how would you attack this? And I get it. It's hard to get out. So for the folks listening, there's literally a peninsula with a river around it, and they cross that river all the time, but it's just like this private point. It's tough to hunt because there's no way to get out onto it without giving yourself up because it's not very wide. Right. And I'm getting all kinds of does out there now, but I haven't gotten anything worth.
But it's August 31st, and you know we've kind of been alluding to talking about this change that happens.
Yeah,
and we talk about it every day this time of year. Ben and I were texting on the phone, getting together, talking about how we're going to deal with it because it's inevitable and we know it's coming. So we're hunting 170-inch deer where he's on some beans right now, but we know
as soon as they yellow,
we know that he's gonna change. So
he'll do something.
Our talks the last 10 days, like we kind of got over talking about how cool and big this deer is.
Yeah.
The last 10 days, our discussions have been, what's he gonna do, and what are we gonna do when he does that?
Right.
Because it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Biggie last year, he didn't make his move until like the 8th or 9th, but he did do it.
Right.
So we have our fingers crossed that maybe Stacks will stay.
Right.
And we can kill him on the first couple of days, but it will happen at some point. It's inevitable.
The 13th, October 13th, because I was going back through all my cards and stuff, and that's the last picture we had of Biggie.
Yeah, and if that's late for a deer to make a move, like maybe, but either way, it happened.
He was very tight.
You got to be ready to react.
That deer was very tight to his core area. Like he stuck close. He didn't. I don't think he
got bumped
really,
and he came back.
Yeah, I
which
mean,
even that, right?
and that was real early on, but he
Yeah.
just stayed. He stayed within like a 300-yard circle. Like honestly, in my opinion, up there for most of
Yeah.
Yeah.
the time.
And we did that podcast on Biggie, and I mentioned Ben was hunting him with me, but like Ben was there from the beginning, and he could have killed him just like I could have the whole time.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about that a whole lot, but
Yeah.
yeah, just like anything,
Yeah,
we.
But they're all different. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like this deer could go 2 miles, and I mean, there's a chance we never even. I don't think so. I don't think he will, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible.
So once
they
those
do.
beans yellow, because we all know what happens then, right?
Yep.
It gets real sketchy real quick. You're all set. You're like hunt them while they're green, and especially with an October 5th start this year. I mean, that's a little bit later.
And I think it's going to be an early
it could be
fall.
tough. Yeah. So
I think they're going to yellow quick.
So where's your mind go right away? Like if there's a white oak stand nearby, I'm assuming we got to be thinking white oaks or something like that.
Definitely
like a more, because guys tend to
something else
think
that'll hold them there.
yeah, guys start to think like, well, the beans are gone, so now what, or whatever. It's like I just don't see a lot of guys that strategically set thinking of an oak stand as a food source that I need to treat like it's a field, right? Or however you'd approach that to get in and get out and know they're going to go in there or be coming from there in the morning. But it sounds like that'd be something you guys would be considering as far as his next step.
If it'll hold him there for sure.
Yeah.
Treat your white oak stand like it is just a bean field in the woods.
Yeah.
And approach that white oak stand like you would to a bean field. Don't walk across the middle of it. Watch your wind. Where's the bedding compared to that white oak stand, and make your approach the same way, because they will come feed that acorn, that oak ridge flat, the same way they'll go feed in a bean field.
Yeah, it's pretty funny when you run, cams in like oak flats, whether it's white oaks, I mean, preferably, but if it's red oaks or white oaks, but most of the pictures, they never even pick their head up. I mean, it's just like a pig just shoveling the leaves up.
I've noticed that even like when we've had corn at my place over when we lived over in Carn City there, we have a certain spot. Now, there's two things I want to mention about that, but we have a certain spot where there's corn, and when those white oaks start dropping, I wouldn't get a single picture by that corn. It's like if they had a choice, they're hitting those white oaks over the corn, which was wild. And I was like, okay, this kind of changes everything.
Corn's tough until December.
Yeah.
You cut corn or whatever.
The other thing was about the transition, like where, sorry, this is like inside baseball here, right? Folks aren't going to know what the hell I'm talking about. But about 3/4 of a mile from my house is it's Kelsey, his excavation place. And that giant that they killed over there a couple years ago, that two, whatever, went a little bit over two, that they killed. They were seeing what they just described as a monster crossing down by him in velvet. But what I've noticed in that area, you said sometimes they shift, sometimes they don't. I'm curious to see how much of it is deer by deer, or I mean, not to see, but just your conversation on this. But it seems in that area, they always shift. It's like they learn it almost from the buck ahead of them, or they're taught it or whatever. Maybe it's just the way that landscape works out for them and how everything changes around. But every time, like in the summer, a lot of times they cross down by that pond.
Yeah.
And it might be because the water's there, because they're coming down across, hit the water in the warm summer. But those deer either move down to the intersection and cross down by the bus depot about a 1/4 mile, or they come up and cross right by my place in that little dip where they come up across, from, just past that lane there, where my old lane, and there's that little dip there. But they always move one way or the other, and then they never cross where they were all summer. Like they just don't seem to cross down there by the excavation spot. So when that buck was coming through there, I was like, all right, I got like a 50-50 chance if he's going to come my way. So on that buck, that one that they ended up getting, I actually put a stand in the white oaks. So there's a spot right up where the one up by our lane there, where it looks like wide open woods. But when you get up in there, my uncle has a pole building, like the property comes up in, there's a pole building here, right? And then that next lane cuts back like towards Kaler and all that, right? And there's a house there. There's only 45 yards of woods, and it's white oak in between that. So when they get up in there, they're just pinched in. So I threw a stand in there. I'm like, he's running this. He's done.
Yeah.
The end of the first week, I got called to work. I'm down in Texas, and I'm on the plane back, and I'm on Wi-Fi, and my phone goes off from my Moultrie camera, and there he is.
Yep.
15 yards from my stand, head down, like you said.
Yep.
It's like an
Yep.
hour before dark. I'm like, oh my God. He crossed the road, went up, and they
Yep.
killed him. I was like,
I
I
do.
would have 100% been in that stand had I been home, but I got called away from work. I'm like, dude, I had a 200 go right through my fingers
Right.
so I could make a paycheck. Like,
I do find it a little bit
But-
contradicting though, because when we grew up, Craig, like you said, hunting these bean fields. I mean, and we didn't know. You know, you learn every year.
yeah, right.
I mean, you just do. But we would just pound those beans throughout the entire season, and we were still consistently killing deer and bucks on those beans mid-October when they were brown.
Or even after they're cut.
Which I find
Sometimes.
really interesting. Like to me, that's interesting because I don't know. It seemed like the does would still hit them like all the way through, like didn't
But
matter.
at that time, we
but I
were
think-
also
Yep.
not hunting
Right. We weren't
Yeah.
specific mature
yep.
deer.
Yep.
You know,
But
we
it-
were kind
But
of.
it, people think they just completely shut off. I don't necessarily think so. I mean,
Yeah.
so
Well, the other thing is the bean pickers got a hell of a lot better since you guys were young.
yeah,
You know, they don't miss much
Right.
now.
Yep.
Like before,
Yep.
I mean, we'd go to a pick bean field. There's beans everywhere.
Yep.
Mm.
And I'll tell you, the one thing that was great, and I'll say, like I said, I don't know much, but the one thing I do know is if you got a bean field, there's going to be areas of that bean field that are stunted.
Right.
And when those machines come through and hit the stunted ones, like back here on our farm, we got some spots that lay wet, and we got some spots that are extra shaded. The beans don't grow as high there. When the machine comes through, they hit those, and the beans just scatter.
Mhm.
They don't pick them up there.
Right.
So you've got like after they're picked, we've got like 2 weeks where they're coming. It's like you just went and threw soybean all over that section, right? And those deer are just hammering it until they get it cleaned up. Then once they get it cleaned up, I start seeing them drop off.
Yeah,
But,
I don't know. At this point, I'm not ready to place a bet on if they love eating the leaf better than they do the actual
Yeah.
bean right now.
Right.
I know they'll hit them in both phases, but
yeah,
still learning.
Yeah,
right,
still
right.
learning. I mean, I think that they just move from food source to food source to food source, whatever's the most palatable at that time that they can get.
Yeah.
And once something's depleted, they just go right down the line.
For sure.
Is honestly how I feel about it. But,
our lease in Ohio last year, Benny killed a giant in Ohio. You know, it's funny. I was on this podcast and I said, I'm leaving in 2 days on my Ohio trip. And then 2 days after we filmed the podcast, he went out there and killed that giant buck.
Yeah.
And
we shot it 2 days and killed it 3 days.
Yeah. So
no, you know I'm going to give you shit about that.
So we you know,
Wasn't
we
the
had
best shot.
we had cameras out there, and it was like the deer had like left, but then the farmer planted triticale on those cut beans, and they came right back, and it was like they were there all winter. And if it wasn't for that triticale, because that area of Ohio, it's small patches, big ag. All 11 deer that we had on camera all late season, we wouldn't have had if it wasn't for that. So it's like when a food source gets depleted, they're going to go find that next thing. And in an area like that, that's not talking about Western PA. That's that area in Ohio. That might be freaking quarter or a mile and a quarter down the road where there's corn left or whatever.
Right.
Which is really nothing. I mean, if you're hungry, I mean, you'll go the distance for food.
I'm going to pour up some more of this Porch View wine here.
Yeah, the Porch View wine brought to you by Porch View. Yeah. I got to get you guys some of that whiskey too. It's sitting over there in the corner. Brought it back from India.
Oh wow!
It's supposed to be like one of the top 10 ones in the country.
Dude, I would love to try some of that. You mind if I sneak off, take a pee real quick?
No,
we take a little break.
We're good, man.
Right,
Yeah,
cool.
we can do that.
Yeah, especially if it's just let's say a 40-acre square block of timber.
Yeah. Well, here, let's mic up.
And it would be like you would just have to look for a sign. Or something, you know.
Yeah.
Check.
All right, we're back. All right, we got this stuff.
Check.
We got that.
The old Conto radio check.
check.
Amalgam.
You get that guy that wouldn't hold the button in, you know, you just catch half of it.
Sorry, Howie, go ahead.
No, you're good, man.
We're messing you up. We had a drink in the break, and we're a little more
I didn't yet. I'm still being good.
That's right.
How do I even open this damn thing?
Full disclosure, Howie did not have a drink.
That's right. Not
We
yet.
got some pics coming in here.
Almost done. Oh, you got some trail cam pictures?
Dude, my phone's been blowing up this whole time we're sitting here. These deer are moving.
I just
We have a
don't-
cold front coming Monday.
Yeah,
just don't
so
have
let's
enough,
talk about that, because last time we talked, you were talking about how you were going out to Ohio for that cold front. So that cold front's coming,
It's beautiful.
a while in advance, right?
We had
So by the way, this is supposed to be, I was told this is a top 10 whiskey in the world. My friends and colleagues out in India, when I was just over there, gave this to me as a gift.
That's amazing, dude.
Open this
Can you
up.
believe we get to try this?
I feel honored.
Wow.
No, I don't
Thanks,
know. It
Howie.
might be trash. I have no idea. I don't think it will be. We'll throw a little bit on ice there. We'll make sure.
Well, a guy that's
who's
pretty
driving
used
here?
to a Canadian club. I mean, it's not too hard. Hopefully, I don't dunk the mic in there.
Right,
You know what I mean?
There you go.
Thanks,
See if
brother.
You, like it. You can have as much as you
Hey,
want.
cheers,
once we
Benny.
get her.
Yeah. Hey, all
We'll
right.
do a
got
quick
some of that
product
out there.
review on this.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, Howie didn't
Yeah.
have any.
Yeah, I can't, man. I got a couple more days. Not your style?
It's like a rye. It tastes a lot like a rye. It must be rice or something. I don't know.
Like
No
a
idea.
Scotch, maybe.
Or like a Scotch, super bourbony. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oaky.
Well,
Very oaky.
oaky.
Yeah.
Man, we sound like we're naming a beer at a friggin' brewery now, like the 2x4
glass.
sawdust sandalfoot.
Handcrafted barrels. Yeah. So I don't know. I was super oaky, scotchy.
Yeah.
Good.
Made in Bangalore.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I was over there. So there you go. We'll mix that
Thanks,
with wine.
dude.
That's always
Appreciate
a good.
it.
That's always a good mix. Throwing that in.
Yeah.
I gave you plenty. So
Well,
there's plenty more where that came from.
You know, where I left off on that podcast was I had killed Biggie, and I'd mentioned on there that I canceled my Illinois trip.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Benny took off with some family members to a piece of public that we have in Illinois. And I canceled it to stay on Biggie. And I think maybe 4 days into Ben's 7-day trip, I killed Biggie.
Right.
So Ben came back, shortly after I killed him
for a couple days.
And we saw this cold front coming, and we went out and to our lease in County, Ohio.
Yeah.
And it was a really cool thing because we just have a 35-acre creek bottom in the right area.
Right.
And we were driving out, and the plan was we were gonna stop at our lease, pull a camera that had been sitting there for a long time, wasn't working, cell camera, and we were gonna go check in at our lodge, and we were gonna hunt some public and bounce over to the little creek bottom and mainly hunt the public.
Yeah.
And literally before we even checked into our lodge, we have to drive past our lease to get to the hotel we're checking in at.
Yeah.
And we stop in and we grab that camera, hit the road. We make it a mile down the road. Ben's flicking through the camera and he's like, holy smokes. And he pulls this thing out and it's 160, 5-inch drop time buck from that night at 3 a.m.
That day, yeah, it was that.
It was that
past
day.
midnight,
Yeah.
so it was 3 a.m.
When you pull your camera and you hit the one picture back, it's the latest picture.
Yeah.
And we're like, dude, he was in there how many hours ago? And we just totally changed our plans and we said that deer's in there now. We're hunting them, and Ben killed him that night.
It's different out there. I mean, it's just, once again, it's big ag country, so small woodlots, creek bottoms that connect them on. It's like you can look at it and it's a mile stretch, but you're sitting in that system with them, like with cell cameras. I mean, this isn't a good case of cell camera use, but it's just back on that button. But it's like,
but it was a good case.
He's in this.
It was a good case of hunting when he's there.
Yeah.
Because our plan was to stop at the lease, pull the camera, check at the hotel, go hunt public. We knew that deer was in there 9 hours before.
Yeah.
We checked in at the hotel, came right back. I saw 4 or 5 bucks.
You already had stands in there?
And then he killed him. Hanging hunt, man.
Killed him, and then still went back farther through the camera just to see what else was on there. And he was there the first cold front in October.
That's right. That's a great point.
For 3 days straight, daylight. First cold front in October, he was there 3 days straight.
Again, the camera wasn't working.
And then he wasn't there, and he was back the next cold front. Mm-hmm. And we had a lot of does on that property, so I think it was, a good place for him to go. I think he wanted to
Right.
be there, you know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
And it showed every time there was a cold front, like he was in there on a scrape, that first cold front, like checking it. And then the next big cold front, he was in there again for a reason. I mean, he was in there after that was like his area that he wanted the rut in.
Yeah.
And he was coming there every cold front, checking those does, checking for him.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he was after him in the middle of October, but I think if there was a hot one in there, I think one that was coming
if
in the
that
heat,
camera
he
was
would have been on
working
there.
and we were getting pictures, that deer would have showed up like the 20th of October, and we probably would have drove out there and hunted them on that mid-October cold
He was there
front.
3 days. You probably would have been on top of him. You know, the first day we got him a deer like that, we probably would have been right out there.
Well, next time you guys can get over here, or at least you, Ben, I want to bring that boy over here.
Absolutely. Yep.
We'll do a whole podcast just on that hunt, because I know we wanted to do that last year. Now we get into the spring and it's mainly turkey and stuff, but now we're getting back into it, right? Guys are starting to see
Oh hell yeah, dude! We've been tore up about these deer for 3 months now, but that was awesome last year. You know, we've been hunting together since we were kids, and in a 7-day stretch, I killed a 167 in PA, and he killed a 172 in Ohio. You know,
so let's talk about that. You guys started hunting. You guys lived next door to each other, right?
Yep.
Growing up, and who mentored each of you guys, or did you just figure it out?
The deer.
Well, both of our pretty
I mean,
much.
you know, like you go hunting with your grandpa, or
No,
like
none of that.
Both of our his stepdad hunted, your dad hunted. My stepdad was a big bow hunter, but he's also like a big game hunter. Like loves to go out west, and he's slowly faded from whitetail hunting because it does get monotonous sitting in a tree, and he loves to go out west. He loves to hunt elk and muleys, and loves Alaska, and can't blame a guy. You know what I mean? Like for being able to put that over whitetail hunting, I think it's pretty adventurous and it's neat. But he got me started into bow hunting, and Craig also. I mean, your dad.
My dad, you know, my biological father's actually a big bow hunter. We haven't hunted together, you know, but I always knew that my real dad, and we would go over when I was a kid. When I'd go visit my dad every once in a while, I'd always take Ben because it was awkward for me. And go hang out with my biological dad. I wanted to bring a friend. But he would have big bucks on the wall, and he had some connections in Illinois, and he had some big deer.
Yeah.
But honestly, when I say that we learned from the deer, it's like I'm not saying that we had no exposure to hunting whatsoever. But we didn't have stands that were placed for us.
Right.
We didn't have properties that were like permissioned for us.
Right.
We literally did everything completely by ourselves from the beginning. I had a bow given to me.
My stepdad was pretty good to me. I mean, he took me.
Buckmaster Bill was awesome to us.
Yeah, like he was a big like rut guy. He's like, just get out here and sit all day, and he's right. Like in the rut, like he's not wrong about that. But we just kept learning so much more. But he got me on the Ohio. Like he was hunting Ohio.
Dude, we got out to Adams. We got out to Adams County when we were like 18, 19 from a hookup that his stepdad had built.
He was really good to me, and I mean, he took me hunting and stuff. And
but again, when we got the property in Ohio, it was just Ben and I going out there.
Yeah, once we could drive, had a set of wheels under us, then it was all just learning the rest of the stuff that's came upon us.
So do you guys have anything like I know looking back, like when I was trying to figure out how to hunt, like my old man didn't hunt. My brother hunted, but he was just figuring it out on his own, and he had access to a property I didn't have access to, and it was basically it was just him. Deer were everywhere. He could literally stand. He killed his first buck with a bow, standing on the ground, leaning next to a tree. 7-point came by, and he hit it with one of those friggin' those snuffers, a giant friggin' fixed. You know, you sharpen them just the great
Sawicki.
Like the great big like 300 grain things. You know, whatever.
They'd shoot through a steel door. You know, and
so we literally just had to figure stuff out. I know I mentioned last time, like I was literally belly crawling on a doe, in a field because I didn't know any better. I killed it.
Yeah.
Like I would have never tried that
Yeah.
after I figured it out. But I'm like, I had this stupid thing work. My first buck I killed with a bow was a spike, right? I was 14 or 15 years old, and I just climbed an apple tree. I had no stand. And apple trees, they're not real big, but I was like 8.5, 9 feet up in this apple tree on these branches that are like about as big around as a ball bat. Like that's all that's up there. And I'm like wedged in there, and I see them coming up across the creek, and he starts feeding right below me, and I shoot this thing like, thump. I had no idea what I was doing, but it worked, right?
Oh, yeah.
But some of the stuff, man, that I tried because I didn't know. I didn't know about scent, dude. I could tell you some that are so embarrassing I don't even want to tell them. But what do you guys have anything like that? Like you look back and you're like, what the hell were we thinking?
Oh, yeah.
There's got to be a couple good ones.
But sometimes it takes you need to adapt. I mean, honestly, to kill him, I shot that 10-point off the ground that one time, and I mean, I was just leaning against a fence post, but there was no trees around. I kept contemplating. I'm like looking 100 yards this way, this tree line. He kept coming out of this just thick goldenrod field, out to this hay field, and I kept thinking, well, maybe he'll come up this way, but deep down, I knew he wasn't going to do that. I knew he was just going to keep coming straight up the gut of that and going out in there because there was no trees. Nobody was hunting him. Nobody could pressure him. From either side, 100 yards to where he was at, and I shot him off the ground.
Would you just hunker down next to the post, and then when he came out, you?
Yep. I mean, I just got in behind like a tuft of grass, like where they couldn't plant anything or where they couldn't mow, and just got in behind that tuft, and it was very nerve-wracking because like he came out behind me. I could hear him. I could hear them all walking, like multiple deer. That makes it tough too. You have multiple sets of eyes. Like there was a decent 8-point that came out before him, and there were some does and smaller bucks that were out there. It was early in the season, and it was just so nerve-wracking because you're just sitting there face to face with these deer, eye level, at 20 yards, and he did come out and was able to get him, put a good shot on him. He went like 100 yards, but it was a really nice 10-point. But I just went for broke there, honestly, and it worked. And I kind of knew it was gonna work. Like he was gonna come there in front of me. I didn't know if I was gonna get a shot at him, but I knew that night, like I had a really good chance that he was going to be in my lap, and it paid off.
How old were you when you did that?
That wasn't all that long ago.
Oh,
that was what,
recent?
Probably
8 years ago.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, no, maybe not.
Maybe
that
like 6 or 7 years ago. But it was early. There were still some bucks that were together. You know what I mean? But they were spaced out a little bit. But
I think what you're looking for is when we were kids doing.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good, man. No, you're good.
That was a good hunt.
Anytime you kill a buck off the ground,
I got a good one for you, man. When we were like 14, we would walk from around the Clearview Mall about a mile back to a farm that we had permission for, and we would walk from our parents through the woods to the pavement, and then we'd walk down the pavement road with climbers and bows, like to this farm, and we were in this creek bottom one night, and this buck was coming to feed, and Ben was in a climber probably like 5 yards to my right.
Right.
And I was on Ben's left, and this deer came out, and as soon as he turned broadside, I went full draw, and in my peripheral, I could see Ben going full draw. So I was like, I need to shoot first, and I hurried up and I shot this thing so bad. But it was like two dumb young kids.
Yeah.
And like I can see him drawn, I'm drawn, and I rushed the shot and shot this deer horrible.
It was great though. Sometimes I want to say it was.
Did you get him though?
No. Tracked him the whole. I took a day off of school the next day.
I think I
tracked
did too.
him.
Yeah.
Never found that deer.
I want to say it was more fun then. In a way,
inches.
Honestly, I mean, we had a ball. I mean, that school bus would stop, and that red sign would swing out. I'm telling you, me and him would boogie, and we'd both be home. I mean, my backpack would be over in one corner, clothes in the other corner, just throwing camo
on camo, and going to
I'd
hunt.
be like, I'll meet you here at the end of my parents' driveway in 10 minutes, and we'd both be there, and we'd take off, and we'd go hunting. It was so much fun. It was great,
and that's what I'd tell the young guys is if you're pretty much under 22 years old, I don't know, maybe 18's the new 22, but like if you're a teenager or you're a young guy and you're listening to this show, like you cannot take it too seriously. Like you need to go have fun with your buddies, and you have to mess up. And those big deer, they're gonna come in your 20s and 30s, and when you start making money and you can go on trips and stuff or whatever. But like right now, if you're a 12 or a 14-year-old, go mess up, man.
Have
be
fun,
dumb.
you know.
Try stupid stuff and piss off your neighbor who's a serious hunter. You know,
I don't know about that. Yeah, I wouldn't.
You'd be like,
that.
I can see these kids. You know.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
Yeah. But well, I mean, I can give one example too of. So we had that lease up in New Bethlehem, and we had some just absolute giants up there, and I had to spot multiple tram roads come together, middle of nowhere. Nice oak stand down here, water source up here, another oak stand up behind me. And we had this high wall that went 3/4 of a mile long. And I mean, it was a sheer face, right?
Mm-hmm.
One spot had collapsed right in the middle of it. One spot. And it looked, you could drive a wheelchair up it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because it was just, the trail was insane. Because otherwise, they compliant. It's ADA, exactly. Yeah. You just built your porch view, so now you know about that.
That reminds me of that spot in Ohio, the runway.
Oh, the runway,
same thing, sheer face cliff.
So I get in there and I'm right near I'm at the access point basically that they have to use to get to the only way to get between this oak flat and that one, and it's rut. It's like November 6th, right?
Yeah,
and I know I got a big one through there, so. You know, my ears are all shot. That's why I wear hearing aids and everything, right? And I certainly can't hear high-pitched stuff. That's going to come into play. I get up there the night before. I make sure I get up there a week before, hang all my clothes out. Like I'm like, this is going to be my day. I'm waiting for this day. I get in this electric golf cart we got up at camp, right? And we had an old, like an old office trailer, like a construction office trailer. We used to camp.
Connex box.
Yeah. Yep. I leave that and I hop in this camo painted electric buggy, right? Just been sitting outside for 2 years, so I know it's not going to get any scent on it.
Yep.
Drive the whole way down. I get like 60 yards from it, and I got a bunch of goldenrod along the side of the tram road, and I bury that thing in that because it's off, kind of out of the way. I get in, I climb up, and I'm like, man, this is the day. The wind's right, the barometer's right, everything's right. It's nice and cold. I got in there a half hour before light. I saw one deer all day. In this spot where the cameras are telling me I'm going to see 30, 40. There's going to be does going. There's bucks are going to be chasing them through here. It's going to be happening. I saw one deer. It's a little forky. And he was just nervous as shit. I'm like, what is going on? Like, what is happening? It gets dark. I'm like, man, I'd put in like 14 hours. I'm like, this is terrible. I'm like, what the hell happened? I get down. I walk over. And if I turn my head a certain way, like I can hear certain tones a little bit better. I had left that freaking golf cart in reverse with the backup buzzer on.
Oh, jeez.
Whole, I couldn't hear it.
Dude.
Come on.
What are you doing?
I couldn't hear it. Right?
Yeah.
Like my ears were not registered.
Yeah.
I sat 60 yards or 50 yards from a buggy that's just going.
Sounded like Lindy paving over there. Just
the whole time.
That's some stuff that PETA would do to you.
Yeah. I completely shot myself. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, that's bad. Pretty bad.
Yeah, that was bad. So check your golf cart if your ears are. You got old man ears.
Well, you can get a bad boy buggy now. I don't think they have that on there.
Yeah. They still a thing? They still making bad boys?
I'm not sure.
Hell yeah, dude. I see Lee and Tiffany's still running a bad boy promoting it.
I feel like them e-bikes have changed things. So
that might be the way to go.
Yeah.
Luckily, Ben and I are still at a point in our lives where we're in shape and we don't really care where we're going. We're going to get there, but
I'm happy to say I'm there now again after a lot of work.
Hell yeah. 70 day, 75 hard.
Yeah, 75 hard.
And
37 pounds.
For the listeners, I brought some of my wine up. I'm proud of my wine. I own a winery. I wanted Howie to have some with me, but he's sticking to it. He's
Wednesday.
I'll
committed on Wednesday.
And then he just gave us some of this great whiskey. So he's sticking to it. And whatever your listeners, it's he's not bull crapping you. He's sticking to it.
That was tough in India, man. I'm over there and Lee did when I was over there. She's like, look, I know we're doing the 75 hard. You're not supposed to eat sweets. You're not supposed to drink, all that stuff. And if you do one day, you got to start all over again if you miss one thing. And I'm like, no, I'm going to do it right. So we go out, and it's like the senior vice president's birthday. And, there's 30, they're so happy to have us over there. Like, I never get
Probably
to go
the
over there.
best options.
Oh my God.
Mhm.
Everything. They're just throwing food and, all this stuff. But I'm still having a good time. I'll dance. I don't need to be
Right.
drunk to dance. Like,
Yeah.
I'll have a good time. Right. And as a quick aside, I quit drinking for like 18 months once. No reason. One day I was like, shit, I haven't drank in like a month. Like, I feel pretty good. I'm just not going to drink. But what was funny is
How old were you when you realized you hadn't drank for a month? Like, when did this go down?
I was probably about
2 weeks ago.
yeah, no, I'd say I was probably the first time. I bet you I was probably 39, 41.
So
like
you
right in
were
there, right around 40.
midlife,
Yeah.
and just for
But even
whatever.
then, I don't drink at home. Like, I don't come home. Like, if I have people over, I have a beer with you.
Right.
But like, I don't like sit here watching TV and have a beer.
Yeah.
I just don't. My father-in-law comes over, I have a beer with him.
Yep.
But it's like social. I'm not sitting around with my kids. And not that people do that. That's fine. It's legal. It's not, you can have a few beers and be totally fine. That just hasn't been part of my process.
Right. Yep.
That's all. It's just never, since I was old enough to do it. It's just not been part of my process.
I
like
you're
drink
just busier doing other things.
If I would drink, I'd drink for a purpose.
Right. Yep.
Yep. But yeah, what was funny about that was I would still go out to the bar and I'd still have a blast. Like, I'm in my 30s and I did it. Like, I quit. So I guess I was like early 30s when I did it the first time. And I was like 9 months into this, because then it kind of gets to be a thing like, how long can I do this? Because I feel good. Like, and I don't need it. Like, some people need it. They want to go out and have a good time. And I'm like, dude, I'm an idiot anyway. Like, I don't, and I go to another place on Sunday. It was like an outdoor thing. And this woman was like, hey, here, have a beer. And I'm like, no. I said, I haven't been drinking. I haven't drank for like 9 months. She's like, bullshit. I saw you last night. You were hammered at that bar. You were acting crazy. I was like, yeah, I was drinking water. Like, that's just me. I was just doing
She
it.
just thought, yeah.
But yeah, we're over there and they're just trying to get me a drink. And I ended up, by the end of the night, everybody's feeling pretty good. It's the introductory night and everybody's having a good time. And the one guy actually challenged me to an arm wrestling match. And if I lost, because Lee did say, she's like, you don't have to restart. You're not going to go over to Indy a lot. So enjoy your time. Like, I'm like, no, I don't want to be over there hungover. I got work to do. I want to be on point, anyway. But this guy arm wrestled me at like 1 a.m. And if I lost, I had to drink. We negotiated it down to 2,
Oh, jeez. And you beat him.
Oh, yeah. I beat him.
Well,
I got
that's
that old
super
man
cool.
strength, man.
Yeah.
I'm at that age. I'm like, I turned 50 on October 12th. So
that hard 75, like I know a bunch of dudes that have done it, and you're almost done. So
yeah.
It's cool that you've done that.
Yeah, it's just a discipline, right? I mean, it's just a thing to get you reminded of the importance of consistency and waking up every day and doing a little thing.
And it's no bullcrap, because about a month ago I was driving over to a project we have over here in Slippy Rock.
Yeah.
What I do professionally for work, and I came up to the stop sign right here, and you at 7 a.m.
Oh, was I running?
Completely soaked in sweat, heading back to your place, and I passed you. So for your listeners, like if you doubt that he has done it, I've seen you doing it, and
I was probably hoping you'd hit me by that point, like just put me out of my misery.
Well, yeah, you were right here. You were a couple hundred yards from the house. Obviously soaked to sweat. You were done.
I sweat a lot anyway. But I could have used a ride, dude.
Get on the tailgate, man.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, more important things. How's the baby doing?
Real good.
Yeah. 4 months now, little man.
4 months.
Got him his camos and everything already.
He's got some little camo onesies.
Is he 4 months old already?
4 months. Yeah. Just got him a Red Rider the other day. There, it's the original carbine. Nice. So it's pretty nice.
Put your eye out with one of those things.
I mean, still in the box. Once he's ready, we'll get that out for him. But it's pretty neat. It has a little leather sash on it, so should be neat. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yep.
And your girls are how old now?
So I have a stepdaughter. She's about to turn 7 in another 2 weeks, and my firstborn daughter's almost 2 years. She'll be 2 in November. But we just had our baby shower today.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm having a son.
Nice.
in 2 weeks, and we had our baby shower today down at my wine bar.
Yeah.
And Ben showed up with his boy, and Tate was walking on the
I was about
bar
an
top.
hour late. I showed up. I'm like,
He showed up 25 minutes.
I actually was hanging trees.
Well, he didn't. Yeah, that's the thing is Ben wasn't late. He showed up 25 minutes after it ended. So it's not like it starts at 12, you show up at 12:30, you're late. He showed up after it ended.
It's the thought that counts. You know?
Yeah.
Priorities.
Well, we had cleaned everything up and everybody had left and we were getting ready to leave and they showed up. So we appreciated them coming anyway. But he brought the boy and Tate was running around on the front bar we have facing Main Street right there. And that, I'm looking forward to that a lot because the coolest thing ever is Ben and I grew up. I think Ben is 8 or 9 months older than me.
Yeah.
And we've done all these hunting adventures together.
Yeah.
Well, he just had his first boy. And I'm having mine like 6 months after him.
Yeah.
So our boys
awesome.
are going to grow up almost the same age separation that him and I did.
Yeah.
So it's going to be like Ben Craig Part 2.
It might be.
Right.
So it might be a repeat.
It's going to continue.
Oh, man. I don't know if the world's ready for that.
Hopefully they hunt like some elk and muleys and stuff.
Well,
So
here's
that's
the thing that's going to be interesting. So
regret.
because I will say like I will just put it out there, like I'm not the best hunter as far as like hunting the older. I haven't had like the success you guys have had at that. But when it comes to getting kids on animals,
yep.
I will tell you that's something I've had a lot of luck at. There's certain things that you just got to do, and there's other things that I think, because every kid that I've been able to get on animals actually stayed in the game. And are still hunting. Because there's very specific things that if you don't, I see your cameras are lighting up. We're getting more
this
pictures.
Was a text here. Bow shoot tomorrow.
I got trail cameras. You were good.
They're trying to figure out what time to get breakfast. You know, these guys
heading down for breakfast.
3D shoot tomorrow morning. Do you want to come with us?
Sligo.
I don't know.
It's in Sligo.
No, I got to pick Brock up tomorrow morning. He's up.
We'll do it one time. Every time that one boy gets sausage gravy, he doesn't shoot very well. You know what I mean? So we'll see if he gets it tomorrow or not.
Barney.
But there's certain things, and it's interesting, and we can get into more of this next time. I mean, we're almost at an hour now, so we're going to do this again, right? We're just going to keep doing this. This is great. One of the things, I actually had a conversation about this at the wedding reception today, because I could talk about hunting and outdoors with anybody, but I can spin anything to it if I need to, right? And we were talking about kids now and the immediate gratification and literally up through how it contributes to frustrations that lead to like school shootings and shit like that, right? Like there's a lot, we can have a whole conversation about all that, but that's what I love about hunting. And that's where like my kids thus far have been successful. That's like our daughter's like top of her class in med school, son straight A's and great athlete. Just but it's not just God-given. He understands the work that you got to put into it. And for us, for me specifically, because Lee doesn't hunt, a lot of that started with hunting, because we would start in June and there would have to be a plan and you have to execute that plan, and there's work and there's strategy, right? Like I taught them, like I have video of Brock on a 50 with a chain link behind him. It's not doing shit,
right?
But he thinks he's dragging that plot field to get the stones out, and he's bouncing. There's no suspension. He's bouncing around. But at 5 years old, so the difference was Hunter, when she would come to me every year. She loved going hunting with me. She went from the time she was like 3 or 4, but every year she'd come up like, Dad, I want to hunt this year, and I'd be like, Honey, the season's in 2 weeks. You're not hunting this year. Like you didn't shoot, you didn't commit yourself, you didn't put time in. She didn't hunt till she was 9, and she's a stone cold killer. Like she was just an absolute killer once she did get out there. But Brock, from the time he was 3, he's like, I want to shoot, I want to shoot, I want to shoot. He shot his crossbow the year he was 5. When he turned 5 in May, he shot his crossbow like I'd have the string replaced on it, because it was like he shot it like it's like 1,200 times or something like that. Right now, I had that set up. I think I might have told you guys about it, like where the phone was mounted on his scope, so neat. I could see what he was seeing to make sure he was steady. He was on the right part of the deer. He was using the right line on that crossbow, right? because I didn't trust a 5-year-old to get him the scope. But I will tell you that kid knew the anatomy of a deer.
Yep.
He understood wind direction. He was 5,
Yep.
but he helped. He literally helped picking rocks out of that food plot.
Yep.
He actually helped me build the blind that we were in when he shot his first buck.
Yeah, man.
And he shot it at 5, which I know people are like, oh, he doesn't know about this. He doesn't know about that. Dude, I'm 49. I don't know about death. I still haven't figured all that out.
Yeah.
There's some wild stuff that happens when somebody dies that I'm not sure anybody really understands yet. So let's not say that they got to understand death.
Yep.
But I just love for the kids, and you'll get to experience it, they get to learn so much about development of a plan, execution.
Absolutely.
And then even then and the best part is they learn about failure.
Yeah.
Because you can do everything right.
Oh my goodness.
Everything right.
Yep.
And it doesn't work.
Yep.
And you got to bounce back. You got to figure out a new plan, like you said, when they shift, whatever. But what I'll be curious to hear, and like I said, we'll talk about this next time. I just want to cue it up for you guys, is how if you guys have thought about, and if you haven't between now and next time, how you're going to let them learn on their own, but still help them.
Right.
There's a balance there, right?
Yeah.
You want them to make mistakes because they might find better ways that you guys haven't found.
We've talked about that a lot, and we're hyper aware that the way that we learned how to bow hunt and chase these deer and all the amazing things that it's got to teach us about life and bow hunt, whatever.
Yeah.
We're going to set them up to a point, and then we're kicking them out of the redneck blind at some point.
Like make sure they're safe, and then go learn on your own.
It's going to be hard. I mean, I definitely want them to have opportunities that I didn't quite. I'm not going to say that my parents wouldn't have done it for me, but I just don't think they knew how much I was interested in it. But man, if he can draw some good youth tags.
So let's.
I'm gonna.
I will tell you right now, New Mexico
like,
is the spot.
Like
when Hunter drew out there,
to experience that.
New Mexico is hands down the best draw that I know of for youth.
Yep.
When she drew out there, first year, she drew a youth tag. It was her and one other kid that had the whole Gila National.
Yeah.
During the rut.
Yep.
With muzzleloader.
Yeah.
But it's not flintlock like around
it's
here.
Awesome,
it's like
though.
you still reach out if you need to.
But what an experience.
Oh my God.
I mean, like first the trip, getting out there.
Yeah.
And just getting to see a different area, different countryside. Like that's pretty neat.
I think the plan right now is, Ben and I as individuals are on a trajectory right now to have some good Ohio properties and some good PA deer under our belts.
Right.
And our boys, Tate and my son that's about to be born are going to obviously be in the wake of our successes,
Yeah, you got a name picked out?
It's Butch.
There you go.
Right. And Maddie's going to fight that. But so Tate.
Hey, it's out on the thicket now, so it's official.
She's going to fight it. But Tate and Butch are going to be in the wake of Craig and Ben.
Sounds like a couple old gunslingers.
Right? Yeah, dude.
Right?
Butch Cassidy.
Tate and Butch.
Yeah.
Tate and Butch are going to be in the wake of Ben and Craig. And at some point, it's like kicking these guys out of the roost or whatever it is.
It's kind of like you want to let them know, like, this is what we've learned, but there's more out there, and you need to go find out because we haven't been able to find it, right? If you give them the head start of what you've learned, but make it clear that there's more to learn, they'll learn with you.
It's you can't hunt the lease anymore. You're 16 or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah.
You're 18. Go get your own lease with your own buddies.
Yeah. One thing, like you saying, like talking
about
hunt Brock and
public,
whatever. Go figure it out, guys.
And
we're here to help you. But you're not hunting the lease anymore. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
And this is interesting. That's what you said. Like
you'll soften up, dude. You'll be an old man, be like, "Yeah, I want my boy here. Get around this fire."
We'll see.
Kicking him out.
We'll see.
Like you said, Howie, that work ethic that you instilled in Brock, like that same thing, like with me and him. That's one thing that I realize, and I look back on it all the time. Like a lot of my friends, they'd be like, "Oh, there's a party. We're going out here. This Halloween party Friday night." I'd be like, "Halloween?
That's a great day to be in the tree.
It's getting a pretty good time of year." And a lot of times, I wouldn't go to any of that stuff because I knew I wanted to be in the tree in the morning. And it all leads up to like just work ethic. Anything else, even before hunting, I would work hard at that just to ensure that I could go hunting
Right.
in the morning. And it just keeps going back and back and back. It's really funny, like what you were saying earlier. It just keeps going back. Like whether it was sports, I'd work hard at doing good at sports. That way, as soon as I was done with those sports, then I could go to the woods and go hunting.
Yeah.
And it just full circle.
Well, it teaches patience,
Absolutely.
consistency,
Yep.
strategy,
Absolutely.
delayed gratification,
Absolutely.
which is something these kids are used to. Like, I say I want it, I get it.
Yep.
It's like, well, you got to start, to your guys' point, you start
Right.
in May and June to have a chance at something in November that somebody else might kill.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
And then you did all that work for nothing. And are you just going to hang it up, or are you just going to be like, no, I can do it next time, right? Or have a backup plan. Right?
We'll see.
So,
we'll see how Stacks. It's October 31st right now, the night of this recording.
I wish it was October 31st. But it's
August
31st.
We have basically the whole month of September for Stacks to lose his velvet, to roll off of beans, to go to acorns, everything that we've talked about. But I tell you what, we're going to be right there watching Stacks when he makes his move. And I guarantee you, when he does make that move, we're going to find that spot. So if we're going to do this podcast again in 2 months from now,
well, we'll do it. Let's do
Stacks,
it like right through the whole deal.
When Stacks is dead, it's going to be because we stayed on him.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. I'd like to just keep up with this.
You have to stay with them, that's for sure.
Yeah.
If we're able to. I mean, the thing is, you can only do so much or get so much permission or access and things like that. So
he could disappear into somebody's private hole.
He could spend all his time somewhere that we can't be. So
we're going to get
you just got to stay hopeful. You got to stay hopeful and get them, you know. But and that's what makes it fun.
We're on Stacks. We're getting them.
It's the chase, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So
we'll do this again in a couple of weeks if you guys are good with
man.
it. We'll maybe do one of the nights you're not open in there, and we'll sneak in and sit at the bar.
Come down to the wine bar, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for coming.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
Do it again soon.
Thanks, man. Thanks, y'all.
You want to draw straws? You know what I mean? Maybe you get to. All right.